Jake's my hero. I think Jake's the second best worker I've ever seen, and I'm not the first. So the first is somebody else, but the second best worker I've ever seen is Jake, and that's a pretty high praise.
It is.
Yeah, So, and Jake, a lot of people really know and realize that I patterned, a lot of my style after Jake. So this is really cool for me.
It's cool to have you here, man. I do have to ask. You mentioned he's number 2. Who is number 1?
Lawler.
That one's hard to beat, man. Some of the best working punches ever.
If you watch Lawler in the 70s and 80s, it's just hard to find anybody, that could do so much other than Jake. Like they're easily the 2 top workers I've ever seen, and in some days, I guess maybe I think that Jake might be better than Lawler, but I guess I should have said he's better since he's on this podcast, but I thought it would provoke conversation. But
it'll be interesting to hear Jake's take on it, so that way he can fire back or probably agree. I think he's got a lot of respect for Lawler.
Yeah, I mean Lawler never used the same comeback. He nowadays everybody has the regular comeback, and which the audience likes because it's you do it every single episode. You make the same comeback so people can relate to it and they identify with it, and then they can see it coming, and see all the moves coming, and they know what's coming. So when something goes sideways, so that's become a staple of the business. But Lawler did it before that was a thing, and every week he would sell out the Memphis Coliseum, 10,000 people. They would sell it out every Monday night, and it was just crazy. I mean, his work is just so. As a baby face or a heel, he could talk people into the seats. You got to watch. But if you watch his stuff like in the 90s, then, it's not the same. In the 2000s, it's really – 90s is still not bad, but the 2000s, Lawler's fallen off the apron. But he's way older then. So, you can't really expect him to be the same guy he was. But because it's weird, even his timing's different. Like even his timing and his strategy, and stuff like that is even different. Whereas, although one of the greatest things I've ever seen though was when Jake, me and I forget who it was it Carino? Me and Carino were at an indie show with Jake, and he's a big mark for Jake too. And so Jake put on a clinic for us that he had some guy that was like 140 pounds, against big old Jake, and so he didn't want to give the guy nothing because the guy was terrible. You know what I mean? So he gave the guy like one punch. So you think, how are you going to make a match like that go more than, a minute, if you're really good, 2 minutes if you're spectacular. He carried the guy for like 7 minutes, like in ring, and made it believable and made it interesting. And that's the one thing I loved about Jake was that if you watch his squash matches, they're always interesting. He makes squash matches interesting. But then Lawler did too. Like Lawler did something when he was wrestling Razor Ramon. I think it's one of the coolest things ever. Razor Ramon flicked a toothpick at him, and the King went down. Lawler went down, sounding like it was stuck in his eye. And he comes up holding it like this. It's in my eye. So whereas Jake would have done the same would have got the same mileage out of the guy. Would have got the same mileage out of Razor, but in a whole different way, so it's just 2 completely different styles, but it's the creativity is on both of them was just, magnificent to watch. And I forgot what else I was going to add, what other adjective I was going to use, but it was just magnificent to watch work, both of them. Man, I could watch them all day.
You can't do much better for your top 2 guys than Jake and Lawler. And, let me tell you, whenever
let me interrupt for 1 second. And I don't even watch wrestling anymore. So the fact that I could watch both of them all day is pretty high, is even more high praise than you'd think, because I don't follow the business anymore.